Welcome back to part 2 of Radical Lean Transformation. Once again, my name is Chris Turner. I'm the Director of Training and Development for Radical Transformation, and I'd like to take you through the rest of this presentation. Many companies participate in what is referred to as fake lean. Now, this occurs when a company declares that it's implementing lean, but its behavior doesn't match the declaration. First, let's look at how fake lean happens. Someone such as a supervisor or a manager decides to read a book, or they watch a video, or they go to a seminar about implementing lean practices. Then they come back and they start to share their lean information with the direct employees or people within their closed circuit that they have direct connection with. Next, they try to do some small improvement events. We can call these mini Kaizens because that's what they basically are. Just an hour here, half an hour there, just to try little improvements, just to see how this stuff works. What happens is that work employees get really excited because they start to see the potential and how the improvements are affecting their work area. The management team hears about it and they get excited about the improvements too, particularly when they see the results. So the management team decide to delegate the responsibility for the improvement process to a single lone supervisor or manager. The management team designate him or her with the job title of lean improvement person. And they instruct that person to go out and to make it happen, to do the lean thing to the company. So the lean improvement person at this point is very enthusiastic and they want to go out into work areas and achieve great things. And as the lean improvement person starts to talk to the area supervisors to see where they need help and to try and schedule some dates to run improvement events, they start to hear some of the feedback. The managers want to run improvement events, but they explain that they don't have the additional people that they can participate in the improvement events. So they said, why is this? Well, the problem is that we're still being measured on production output, and if we don't hit those numbers, then we're in trouble. So they're very resistant to give up people to go into improvement events where they won't be on the line. They'll be actually in some classroom somewhere talking about lean or doing lean. Now, the lean improvement person goes back to the management team and discusses with them what the supervisors told them. But the management team is adamant. It still wants to push forward with more training sessions so that they can do more improvement events and get more people trained. Their goal is to roll this whole process out throughout the entire organization and get everybody trained to participate in improvement events. Their belief is that they'll soon fix many of their problems and really start to see the impact of the results direct to the bottom line. However, 6 months go by. Everything seems to be going well. And then the financial folks step in and start telling the management team that they're spending too much money on lean training and improvement events. The management team are bewildered because they thought that lean practices would help to reduce costs, to improve quality, and to speed up their production processes. But what they find is there's no change to the bottom line. So the question is, where's the ROI? Where's the return on investment? When do we see this? When does it happen? Their next action is really a knee-jerk reaction to the situation when they start to say that they need to rethink their approach. So until further notice, only focus on critical customer-related issues and direct everybody in the organization to follow that thinking. They also say put everybody back on the production lines, take them out of the improvement teams, get them back on the production lines. So what's the outcome of fake lean? Well, what happens during the following months is this. The managers will start to focus their time and energy firefighting to get around those critical process and customer-related issues. The employees will start to see this as the death of lean, and then they'll slowly start to withdraw their own participation away from the improvement process. This will establish and reinforce the belief that lean manufacturing doesn't work here. In fact, it'll probably end up where they believe that it will never work. So the question here is, why didn't it work? They kicked off with great success. Everybody was enthusiastic. They thought it was great. So what went wrong? Where did it fall apart? Why didn't they sustain the improvements over the long term? So what we need to do at this point is to go through their process to try to understand the issues and why they didn't get the results that they really wanted. So the number one issue was strategy. The management team was not fully engaged in the process right from the beginning. They should have participated in the design and the development of a strategic plan for the lean implementation process itself, and they didn't do that. Next, it's critical to link strategy to operations. A strategic plan that cannot be interpreted easily and then cascaded down to the actual place where the work is happening, that's the gemba, is really useless. It doesn't serve any purpose. The next problem was infrastructure. You see, the management team should have designed and established an infrastructure for the improvement process, and then they should have instructed the direct report about how to use that system effectively, and they didn't do that. Next, the management team should have clearly defined key performance metrics for their organization. Why should they have done that? Well, employees need to know what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. What are the boundaries? Where are the limits? We look at things like safety, quality, cost, delivery, productivity. Employees need to know all of these things, and they need to be clearly defined. Next is opportunities. See, all the opportunities for improvement should have been identified and prioritized based on feedback from tracking and trending the key performance metrics throughout the organization. They should never be based on opinion. It's not about he said, she said, we should start there, we should start here, or go over there, no, go over here. It should never be that way. If you look at the right of the screen, at the bottom there you see the graph. The graph is giving you feedback about the process. It's identifying clearly where the opportunities for improvements are. Where those dips are in the graph, that shows us something wasn't performing in the way that it should have been. So we need to look at those and figure out why, and then try to correct it. The next thing was the lack of direction. You see, based on the feedback from the key performance metrics, the management team, or the person that was designated by the management team, should have then given clear directions about the why and the where, and the when and the how to effectively utilize the organization's most valuable resources to improve its business processes. So what are these resources? It's the people, it's time, it's money, it's materials, and it's real estate. How are you going to use all of those things in the most effective and efficient manner to be able to improve the organization's processes? The next problem was ineffective focus. You see, the teams worked on one or more opportunities during each of their improvement events, but they didn't know if they were actually working on the root cause of the problem or something else. You see, they could have easily have sup-optimized one or more of the processes, which would have had a negative impact on the value stream. You can see at the bottom of the slide that there are 4 processes there, and it's indicating a red arrow under process 2. So if you improve process 2, you may have a detrimental effect on 1, 3, and 4 and not know that you're doing that. So it's important to make sure that you look at the entire value stream and see what the knock-on effect is of any changes that you put in place. So if we know all of these things and we know where they went wrong, how do you make that transition from a fiscally unhealthy to a fiscally healthy organization using lean principles? And then how do you remove the bloating to become a trimmer, fitter company by implementing lean practices? So these are critical questions that we need to ask as we go forward into the next level of this presentation. So now we start looking at paradigm shifts. We need to change the way that we think and how we focus the available resources within the organization. This is the start of the paradigm shift. We need to start treating a business like the human body. Why the human body? Well, a human body is several systems or subsystems that work together to keep it alive and healthy. I gave some examples here of the skeletal system, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, the muscular, and the nervous system. There are loads more different systems that go into the makeup of the human body. However, I think you get the point here. They all need to work together. And if any of these systems are out of sync, then the human body will not be operating at its optimum level of health. So you see, a business is a system with several subsystems, just like the human body. These subsystems all work together to keep the business viable. The purchasing department, the engineering department, the operations department, the accounts department, the shipping department, all of these work together to keep that business viable and profitable. If any of these systems are out of sync, then the business will not operate at its optimum level of fiscal health. Therefore, we need to stop focusing on isolated process improvements within an entire business system. So what does this mean for a manufacturing organization? Well, it means that you have to look at all the production processes and their support systems. You can't just look at production process number 1, change things without wondering what the effect is going to be on process number 2, process number 3. There may be no effect, but you need to know that for sure before you make any changes. For a healthcare organization, this would be all the medical staff to patient interactions and then their support systems that work behind that. So it's not just about taking the vitals or drawing the blood or working with a better situation for the nurse to patient activity. All these things interact with one another at some point throughout the system. So you can't just change one and improve it without having an impact on other things. You need to look at the entire value stream. See, in an office environment, this would include all the employee interactions with documents and their support systems. So it starts with the creation or the receiving of the document, then the printing, photocopying, faxing, and the filing of the document. So again, you can't improve one thing without realizing what the impact of that change is going to have on the entire value stream. So organizational effectiveness is important. We need to focus on the entire value stream of the organization. That starts when we receive the customer order, and it ends when the customer accepts the product, that it's at the level of quality that they are willing to accept. This is the entire value stream, and it's equal to the time and the cost of performing all of the actions that are necessary to get that customer order converted into that acceptable product. So for a manufacturing organization, it starts when you accept the customer order, and it ends when the customer receives and accepts the quality of the finished product. See, most manufacturing organizations are just working to the shipping process when they ship the item, and then they're done with it. But it doesn't end there. There's a whole bunch of things that are going to happen once it gets to the customer. The customer's going to do quality inspections. They're going to do testing. They're going to do all different things until that customer says, we like this. This is exactly what we want. We accept this. The job is not done. For a healthcare organization, it starts when you accept a patient referral, and it ends when the patient's health is back to an acceptable level prior to the onset of their condition. Now, the other part of this is you go through all of this process, but there are also the rework element of it. Did the patient have to come back? Was there something that was missed? Was the condition not diagnosed properly? Do they need further treatment? It's not ended until the condition of that patient is back to where it should be to be able to sustain that patient in a healthy lifestyle. For office environment or service organization, it starts when you accept the customer's order, and then it ends when the customer receives and accepts the quality of the finished product or document. It doesn't just end when you mail the document. The customer has to receive that and then say, this is a good one, I like this, and it's exactly what I asked for. That's when the customer accepts the quality of the document, and then the job is finished. So what's the best approach for improving a business? Well, the best tried and tested method is to implement what we call an integrated lean management system. So what is this? Well, it requires all levels of the organization to participate in the implementation and the integration process. And you can see that in the image at the bottom right-hand corner. Everyone is involved in the design and development of the strategic and tactical goals, which are then cascaded down and then back up through the organizational levels. And it's important to know that everybody has input into it. So it's not just one section of the organization that's making the plans for people lower down in the organization when they don't really know what's happening down there because they don't ever participate in that work level. And vice versa. The people at the lower level of the organization can't get involved in the financial or organizational issues that they have no part of or they don't necessarily participate in on a day-to-day basis. So it's important that you get all of these different perspectives and thinking involved in this entire process. So this is the end of part 2. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. There's my phone number. You can also send an email on that email address or go to our website to visit and to look at some of the training that we have available for manufacturing, for lean healthcare, and also for the lean office. Thank you very much for participating in this part of the training session. I look forward to seeing you in part 3.